Hello there. Welcome to my review of Columbo Season 12, Episode 2, Butterfly in Shades of Grey. First broadcast on January the 10th, 1994 on ABC. Written by returning writer Peter S. Fisher and directed by first-time director on Columbo, Dennis Dugan. Although this is not his first involvement with the show, as he played Sergeant Dalbinski in Last Salute to the Commodore. The episode begins with a shot of the LA skyline and a voiceover announcing the radio show of political commentator Fielding Chase, before cutting to a restaurant where we meet Jerry Winters and Lou Cates. Winters is trying to get literary agent Cates to sign Victoria Chase, Fielding's adopted daughter, to a book deal, to spite Fielding, who he works for.
What's your angle?
Personal.
Oh, you mean Fielding Chase?
Vicky's another Ayn Rand trying to bust loose from her cocoon. You and me are going to help her.
But she fails to show. We also discover Winters is gay, seemingly openly so, which is a first for Columbo, despite the hints to that effect with some past characters. We then meet Fielding Chase himself, played by a returning William Shatner.
Oh, yes, the mysterious ozone depletion. I tell you what, my darling, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. It absolutely destroys the environmental chicken littles who would scare decent people like you.
While off-air shows himself to be equally as stubborn and incredibly controlling of his daughter, Victoria, played by a returning Molly Hagan.
Let's go, Victoria. We have less than 60 seconds.
Look, Vicky, I'll call you later.
Mr. Winters, you will not call her later.
She tells her father about the book she's written and the potential deal Winters has brokered for her, and appears delighted for her, but when she leaves the room, he looks devastated. And the next day, Kate tells Winters that the deal has fallen through after Kate's boss received a call from old friend Fielding Chase. Winters confronts Chase about this sabotage, and he denies it, but Winters is relentless, which angers Chase. Victoria confronts Chase about his sabotage, and he manages to wriggle out of his deceit. He then arranges a meeting with Winters, and, as this is Columbo, it's safe to say Jerry isn't making that appointment. Chase goes to Jerry's house and breaks in, and as Jerry tries to call Chase for their meeting and gets his answering machine, Chase picks up on Jerry's other line and pretends to be at home, having the answer phone recording act as his alibi as he shoots Jerry.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you want to know the truth,
Jerry! What happened?
While this is a pretty clever setup for a murder and alibi, you do have to suspend disbelief that Jerry wouldn't hear Chase speaking from the room directly behind him, but if you can get over that, it's very well thought out. The whole opening is well constructed enough that I think the episode earns this mild suspension of disbelief. Who each of the characters are, plus a little characterization and their relationships to one another, is very naturally developed and delivered. Chase's motive has the potential to be quite weak if the foundations aren't laid well enough, but I think they do a great job of doing just that here, and so by the time the murder occurs, it's completely believable that this character would murder someone over the control he needs of his daughter. Columbo arrives on the scene and, for possibly the first time, isn't aware of who the celebrity murderer is, which is actually a nice character touch, as Chase doesn't seem like the kind of celebrity Columbo would be interested in. He finally goes to speak to Chase, who is on his car phone, not realizing who Columbo is, but eventually the penny drops.
Would you mind? This is a very important call.
Oh, I didn't realize. Sorry. I'll just wait here, sir. I'm from the police, sir. Lieutenant Columbo, homicide.
I'm terribly sorry, Lieutenant.
Chase then makes a classic Columbo mistake of suggesting who the culprit might be. Either someone Jerry was investigating on Chase's behalf, or a jealous ex-boyfriend, as he casually drops Jerry's homosexuality into the conversation, as well as some casual homophobia.
But those people do have a reputation for unusual behavior.
Chase invites Columbo to his house to pick up files on the people Jerry was investigating, as Victoria comes home devastated. There's a certain likeness between Falk and Shatner as they play their scenes together that was also present in their first episode together, Fade into Murder, suggesting that they enjoyed working together on both, and it's a lot of fun to watch their different performance styles in action. By this point in their careers, both were experienced actors in film, theatre and television, but Falk's naturalism contrasts perfectly with Shatner's more stilted performance, and it really helps establish the power dynamic that Columbo pivots on. He's the working class civil servant that, despite his job, wants to believe in the good in everyone, while Chase is a rich, pompous ass who makes a career of seeing the bad in everyone. Chase uses Victoria to cement up his alibi by asking her to play his messages while he attends to something else, meaning that Columbo and Victoria discover the recording of Jerry's final phone call, proving Chase's story but also showing his callousness, as Victoria is clearly distressed hearing this conversation. Chase flies into the room with faux concern, again showing how he controls and manipulates his daughter, and re-establishes his movements for Columbo. The way this episode subtly demonstrates Chase's toxic relationship with Victoria is brilliantly handled, as we get these small scenes of him appearing concerned, despite being responsible for what is troubling her. It's something only a show with Columbo's premise can really do, as it makes us hate Chase more and more each time it happens. As Columbo investigates further, he discovers Ted, Jerry's ex, and Victoria both had a key to Jerry's place, but that Victoria thought she lost hers the morning of Jerry's murder before finding it later. While Columbo gives nothing away, I'm pretty sure this is the point where he is certain that Chase did it, confirmed when Victoria tells him she was at the radio station on the morning of the murder at the request of her father. We then get a funny scene reminiscent of Fade into Murder and a few other episodes where Columbo manages to ruin a TV show when he is mistaken for a homeless extra.
Who the hell is that? Who the hell is that?
While looking for Ted, who is an actor. The handkerchief Chase planted at the crime scene had theatrical makeup on it, in his effort to frame Ted, in another subtle nod to Fade into Murder. But Columbo isn't fooled by this ruse, as he accepts Ted's alibi. We then get more detail about just how much of a scumbag Chase is, as he fabricates dirt on a senator he is about to interview before Columbo turns up to question him further, dropping in the fact that Chase himself has a motive.
Can you think of somebody else who might have had a motive to kill Mr. Winters? Besides yourself, of course. It's a lucky thing for you were on the phone with the guy when he got killed.
Meanwhile, forces move against Chase as Lou Cates approaches Victoria to publish her book, and Chase attempts to stop it. And Victoria is naturally disgusted to discover he is planning to run a second story he knows isn't true about the senator. His house of cards is starting to wobble and the murder seems to have made no difference. Plus, Chase's attempt to frame Ted has backfired and limited the suspect list down to pretty much him. Oh, and Victoria, who nobody actually saw at the radio station on the morning the murder was committed. Columbo's final ploy is to exploit this fact and her having a key to Jerry's house, the key Chase used to get in, to suggest that she is the best possible suspect.
We've been able to identify only 4 people, sir, that had keys to Mr. Winter's apartment, and all 4 have unshakable alibis, all except your daughter.
As Chase conducts his big interview with the senator and drops his bombshell, fabricated scandal, his daughter is disgusted, and Columbo is there to witness the whole thing. The result of this manoeuvre pushes his daughter to leave and Columbo to arrive, ready to arrest Chase. Columbo claims to have a witness at HQ who Chase demands to confront and drives them both there, stopped on the way by a bike accident which Columbo has organised to hobble Chase's car, meaning he has to call for a tow. Unfortunately for Chase, there is no phone signal where his car is stopped, which means Chase couldn't have possibly made the 911 call about the murder he supposedly heard if he was 4 minutes away from his house rather than already at Jerry's, where he was.
You know, Columbo, I think possibly I may have misread you.
Possible, sir.
I really enjoy this episode. It's well constructed, well acted and well shot. Chase remains an unsympathetic, unapologetically evil murderer throughout, even when he's attempting to explain why he cares so much for his adopted daughter. It just further reveals how controlling he is. As the episode goes on, we see more and more of how despicable he is to Victoria and anyone else that stands in his way, exemplified by his murder of Jerry, which in the end becomes meaningless as he loses his daughter because of who he is and not any outside influence. The gay characters, while not particularly prominent or that fleshed out, are not stereotyped, nor are they treated abnormally by anyone other than Chase. Whether Jerry was gay or straight is not particularly relevant to the overall story and is just treated normally. My only real criticisms of the episode are that the gotcha is a little unspectacular and doesn't do enough to prove Chase's guilt. But for the character they have established, it makes sense, and I do wish they'd spent a little more time expanding on Victoria as a character, as we know very little about her. She clearly has a solid moral compass, but it doesn't feel like her experiences are that transformative, as we know so little about her. It's great that she escapes Chase's control without knowing he killed Jerry, as it means she comes to this realization on her own terms, but it would have been nice to see more of what type of a person she was to reach that point. She does when she decides to leave him. Still, it's a very entertaining episode and an easy 4 out of 5 from me. Thank you. Goodbye.